Studio Fi by Fi. In this video, I'm showing how I built the Broadband Acoustic absorption panels that populate much of Studio Fi by Fi. This is a design I landed on after a lot of experimentation. This is part of a larger series detailing the build of my studio, Studio Fi by Fi. I am not going to spend time explaining acoustic calculations or treatment theory here. There are people far more qualified than I am that have already covered that topic extensively. This video is simply documenting my design and build process. Before I get started, I'd like to acknowledge a few resources that I used that helped shape my limited understanding of studio acoustics. I relied heavily on the information presented by Acoustics Insider and John Brandt. If you're interested in the science, the design principles, and the acoustic theory, I highly recommend checking them out. I also want to give a shout out to Present Day Productions channel for planting the seed that started this studio build. Alright, you're going to need a few things to build these. You'll need one sheet of 1/2" OSB 4 feet by 8 feet. You'll need one 8-foot long 2" by 2" what is called a furring strip for your corner braces. You're going to need copious amounts of wood glue, and you're going to need some screws. I used drywall screws because I have a huge box of them. They were cheap, and 2" ones should work. You're going to need a drill, an impact driver. If you do not have one, you can use your drill. It'll work just fine. Just get a Phillips head bit for the screws. You'll also need a drill bit that is a slightly smaller diameter than the screws you were using. We're going to use these for drilling pilot holes. We're going to cut our OSB up into several different pieces. Many stores will cut up a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet to your specifications, usually at a very minimal cost, and sometimes for free. You will need 4 pieces that are 48 inches by 7 7/8 inches. These will be your long side. You'll need 4 pieces that are 30.5 inches by 7 7/8 inches. These will be for your short sides. The furring strip we're using for our corner braces will cut at 7 7/8 inches. When we put these together, this will make a rectangular frame that is 4 feet long by 30.5 inches wide by 7 7/8 inches deep. 6 pieces of uncut insulation, half your bag, will stack snugly inside each of the frames, 3 pieces on each side. OSB has a rough side and a smooth side. When using OSB for our purpose here, the rough side is what we want on the inside. It will help the glue stick better. I always make my panels in sets of 2. That way I have 2 that I know are identical. I can then be more confident in the bilateral symmetry of my acoustic treatment. Here are all of our pieces laid out and ready to go. Here's a little diagram I made on how they go together. Choose one of these 2 ways to put these together and stick with it for both panels. That way you'll have 2 equal panels, and one won't be slightly off from the other, or you won't end up with little trapezoids. Use your eye to look down the length of the board. When you cut these into corner braces, use the straight edge from the factory. Use this and it will help pull the entire panel into square. Adding the corner braces creates more surface area for glue to stick, making the boxes much stronger. I actually made quite a mess putting these together. I used way too much glue, but I did that on purpose. I wanted to ensure a thick, even coat squeezed into all the crevices. I also wanted to show that a little less accuracy will work for this particular project. I drive the screw head down just below the wood surface, just a touch until I feel the corner brace pull pretty tight, and I see wood glue squeeze out of all sides. That way you know you have a good, strong connection. I kind of bounced around here showing different ways to put this together with the corner braces. When you build yours, you'll probably fall into your own routine on how to build them most efficiently. And here's our pair of frames finished and drying in a nice lovely sunset. Here's the final list of things you're going to need to finish these panels. You'll need 1 bag of rock wool. The other stuff works, I just prefer working with this. You'll need 1 roll of 0.35 mil painter's plastic sheet. You'll need a staple gun and a box of staples, and 4 yards of breathable fabric. After a lot of trial and error, I landed on this panel design. I use OSB because it is inexpensive, and for these purposes it is tough enough. 1 sheet of 4 foot by 8 foot is enough for 2 panels with a bit left over. The insulation does not have to be cut, and I simply wrap the panels much like I would wrap a gift. I wrap them in plastic first to mitigate the dust. I then wrap them in crushed velvet for the face, and for the wall and ceiling side, I searched for the cheapest white fabric I could find at the time. If you are wondering why I'm using a mallet, I found out after I started the stapler I was using was broken, so I had to use a hammer to pound the staples the rest of the way in. I now have a nice electric stapler. As you can see, this piece of fabric doesn't quite fit because I took it from another panel that didn't quite work out. It's a little bit too small. It'll be hanging from my ceiling corners and it won't be noticeable at all. I also wanted to show that these do not have to be perfect to function properly. Since these are hanging from my ceiling to wall corner, I only put plastic on the underneath side. At some point, I will cover the outside perimeter of these with nice 1x. That'll help finish them off and make them look much more professional. But I just wanted to get them going and have my studio working. I made sure to set up where the wind was blowing away from my puppies. The rock wool that I chose for my projects is 15¼ inches wide by 48 inches long. It's approximately 3 inches deep. I stack 3 on either side next to each other. That gives me a total depth of about 9 inches, and when compressed, just over 8 inches. When I do end up covering them, I'll use the opposite method of constructing them that I did when I put these panels together. That way it'll make the box much stronger to have opposing corners. This being the only width available in my area determined the width of my entire panel. You can get 24-inch wide rock wool, and in that case I would just make 24-inch wide panels. Nice and modular. Having done extensive remodeling work, I chose rock wool over the Owens Corning. I find it much less irritating on the skin and everything else. To me, it doesn't produce as much dust, and the dust doesn't irritate me as badly. I can also work barehanded with rock wool. I cannot do that with fiberglass insulation. I chose white for the wall or ceiling side because my walls and ceilings are flat white. That way, the light will bounce off nice and evenly. With the panels now complete, they are ready for installation. And here they are installed, side by side. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.